what can we learn from the modern state of China? And what's your thoughts on their criticism about the colonial mindset of India? So the Chinese have criticized India a lot. What do they criticize India for? One of the criticisms the Chinese have leveled at India is that India is an example of too much democracy. India has is a genuine democracy. Elections every other week, somewhere or the other, municipal level, district level, state level, central level, whatever. So many elections all over the place, all the time. So many laws, but nothing happens, nothing works. You have laws for everything, but nothing is implemented. You have corruption everywhere. You have got a broken down infrastructure. You have pollution. You have corruption. You have garbage all over the place, and so on. Extremely inefficient nation, very corrupt system that doesn't serve the nation, the system that doesn't serve the people, and yet a great democracy, right? The world's largest democracy. So that's one criticism the Chinese have always leveled at India. India is the best example of why democracy doesn't work. That's one criticism that they've leveled at India consistently. Um, the second criticism is not something they say directly, but you can say that they have a certain amount of contempt towards India. Why? What is the source of the contempt? They see India as a Western stooge, as a colonized nation, a nation that had the opportunity to throw away the baggage of colonialism, but we have chosen to continue that. And that's why they have a lot of contempt for India. Is their contempt justified? I think it is. We have colonized ourselves even further since 1947. In 1947, most Indians did not have an English education. Most newspapers or whatever were not in English. Today we are completely deracinated, completely westernized. We have lost our culture. We no longer use our languages. The entire education system is in English. You can't get a good job if you don't speak in English, and if you don't give the interview in English. The entire judicial system, higher judicial system, is can only speak in English. The entire government, the constitution is a Western copy pasted constitution. All our laws are Western copy pasted laws. Our institutions are colonial institutions. What's original about us? It's just everything is an inferior copy of something the West has done. We have no self-respect. We just want to ape the West. We want to ape today what the West did 50 years ago. So that's why the Chinese have a large, significant amount of contempt for India. And I think that contempt is justified. And their criticism of India's democracy is also justified, because nothing gets done in India. So what can we learn from the China, from the modern nation of China? Look, China gets things done. China prioritizes its national interest. China doesn't allow others to interfere in its internal matters. We allow everybody to interfere in our internal matters. We have a whole new artificial nation project being operated upon in our Far East, Cookie Land for Christ. You think China will tolerate such a project by the Americans? You think China will tolerate the Americans doing a coup in their neighborhood, like what happened with Pakistan, with Bangladesh in the recent 2-3 years, with India in the subcontinent? There's so much we can learn from China. China has done many mistakes, made many mistakes in the past, especially during the time of Mao Zedong. The great leap forward, the cultural revolution, huge mistakes were made. But those were rectified, especially after Deng Xiaoping came to power. So China, overall, the Chinese Communist Party serves the nation, serves the people. Of course, there is corruption at various levels and all. Every nation has that. The most corrupt nation in the world is the US. But in China, the corruption, it doesn't really affect the people the way it affects people in India, and so on. So there is so much India can learn from China. The Chinese efficiency, the Chinese ambition. They have a purpose. India doesn't have a purpose, right? What is India's mission? What is India's mission as a nation? China has a mission as a nation. China's mission is to replace and displace the US as the world's largest economy and most powerful nation. They have a very clear purpose. Every sector, industrial sector, every academic sector has a very clear long term vision and purpose. We as a nation, India, are clueless, aimless, purposeless. What is the national purpose of India today? Do we have an objective? Or is our objective just to keep existing and keep arguing and squabbling and voting every few weeks? What's the national purpose of India? What is our national motto? Yeah, Satyamev Jayate. But in India, the opposite actually happens. It's always untruth that wins in India. So there is so much we can learn from nations who are doing better than us. The Chinese have, there's a lot to admire when it comes to China, a lot to admire. So there's a lot we can learn from them.